There are places on Earth that look like they were created by a computer. Places that feel edited, exaggerated, or completely artificial. The kind of places that make people stop scrolling and say, "There's no way this is real." We grow up believing that reality follows rules, that nature is chaotic, imperfect, and predictable, and that anything too symmetrical, too colorful, or too extreme must be fake. But the truth is, our planet doesn't care about what looks believable to us. Across the world, there are real locations and natural formations that appear to break the laws of reality itself. Some look like digital art, others resemble movie sets or science fiction landscapes, and many of them seem so improbable that photos of these places are often accused of being edited or staged. What makes these places even more unsettling is that they weren't designed, they weren't planned, and they weren't created by humans. They formed naturally, through time, pressure, chemistry, erosion, and forces that operate far beyond our everyday experience. In this video, you're about to see 10 real things that genuinely shouldn't exist, yet every single one of them does. No CGI, no special effects. Just reality doing what it does best, being stranger than fiction. Let's begin. 1. The Richat structure, Mauritania. From space, the Richat structure looks like a massive eye staring back at the sky. Perfect circular rings carved into the earth, stretching for kilometers. But what's even stranger is what this place feels like from the ground. Standing inside the Richat structure, you don't see a perfect circle. Instead, you walk through endless, curved rock formations, layered ridges, and repeating patterns that feel deliberate, almost engineered. The terrain rises and falls in smooth arcs. Rock layers bend in symmetrical formations. And no matter where you stand, the landscape feels structured rather than random. Scientists believe this formation was created by erosion, acting on a domed geological structure over millions of years. But even with that explanation, it still doesn't feel natural. From the ground, the Richat structure doesn't look like an accident of geology. It feels like a blueprint, etched directly into the planet. 2. Lençóis Maranhenses, Brazil. At first glance, Lençóis Maranhenses looks like a vast desert. Miles and miles of soft white sand dunes stretching endlessly into the distance. But then you notice something impossible. Between these dunes are thousands of crystal-clear blue lagoons filled with fresh rainwater. Perfect pools forming right in the middle of what appears to be a barren wasteland. During the rainy season, water collects beneath the sand and rises to the surface, creating these surreal lakes. Some are deep enough to swim in. Others reflect the sky so perfectly they look unreal. What makes this place feel impossible is the contrast. Blazing white sand, bright blue water, and no sign of a traditional desert ecosystem. Lençóis Maranhenses looks like a fantasy world designed by an artist. But every dune, every lagoon, and every reflection is completely real. 3. Lake Natron, Tanzania. Lake Natron doesn't just look strange, it looks hostile. The water appears deep red or pink, almost like liquid rust. The shoreline is coated with sharp white mineral crusts that look unnatural and dangerous. This lake gets its color from microorganisms that thrive in its extremely alkaline water. The pH level is so high it can burn skin and eyes. Animals that die near the lake often become naturally preserved. their bodies coated in minerals that harden them into stone-like statues. What makes Lake Natron unsettling isn't just how it looks, it's how aggressively unwelcoming it feels. Water is supposed to represent life. Here, it represents chemical extremes, pushed beyond familiarity. And yet, flamingos live here, perfectly adapted to conditions that would destroy almost anything else. 4. The Fairy Circles, Namibia. Scattered across the deserts of Namibia are thousands of perfect circles, bare patches of land surrounded by healthy vegetation. From above, they look intentional, almost like symbols burned into the earth. For decades, no one could explain them. Some theories point to termites, others suggest plants competing for limited water, and some researchers believe it's a combination of both. But what makes the fairy circles so unsettling is their precision. They are evenly spaced. They maintain their shape for years, and they reappear even after being disturbed. No matter the explanation, the visual effect remains the same. Perfect geometry, where randomness should exist. 5. The Moiraki Boulders, New Zealand. Along a quiet stretch of coastline in New Zealand, something feels immediately wrong. Scattered across the beach are dozens of enormous stone spheres, resting directly on the sand. They aren't slightly round. They aren't roughly shaped. They are almost perfectly spherical. Some of these boulders are as large as small cars. Others are smaller, but still heavy enough that moving them would require machinery. Their surfaces are smooth, cracked in geometric patterns that make them look carved rather than formed. At first glance, they resemble abandoned artifacts, as if someone placed them there deliberately and then disappeared. But these boulders weren't carved by humans. They formed naturally deep inside ancient seabeds millions of years ago. Minerals slowly accumulated around a central core, growing outward evenly in all directions over immense periods of time. Eventually, erosion exposed them, leaving these massive stone spheres resting quietly along the shore. What makes the Moiraki boulders feel unreal isn't just their shape, it's the idea that nature, given enough time, can produce symmetry that rivals human engineering. 6. Lenticular clouds, sailing clouds. Lenticular clouds don't behave like normal clouds. They don't drift, they don't stretch or dissolve. They simply appear and stay. Suspended in the sky, these clouds form smooth, layered shapes that resemble flying saucers or stacked discs. Their edges are sharp. Their surfaces look solid. To anyone seeing them for the first time, they appear artificial, almost like massive objects hovering silently above the landscape. These clouds form when strong winds push moist air over mountains, creating standing wave patterns in the atmosphere. As air rises and cools at the peak of these waves, moisture condenses into cloud layers that remain stationary, even as wind continues to flow through them. What makes lenticular clouds unsettling is how calm they appear. Other clouds rush past, weather changes, yet these shapes remain fixed, motionless, and precise. For a moment, the sky itself looks engineered. 7. The White Desert, Egypt. The White Desert in Egypt looks nothing like a typical desert. Instead of endless dunes, the landscape is filled with towering white rock formations shaped like mushrooms, animals, and abstract sculptures. These formations are made of chalk and limestone, carved slowly by wind and sand over thousands of years. Yet their shapes feel deliberate, almost intentional. The contrast is what makes the place feel unreal. Bright white rock rising from pale yellow sand under an intense blue sky. The environment feels bleached, clean, and unnatural. At night, the desert becomes even stranger. Under moonlight, the formations glow softly, casting long shadows that distort their shapes and make them look alive. Nothing about this place feels accidental. Every formation looks like it was placed there on purpose. And yet, the white desert is entirely the result of natural erosion. Patient, relentless, and precise. 8. The Eternal Flame Falls, USA. Hidden behind a small waterfall in New York State is something that shouldn't exist: a flame. Water pours continuously over the rock face, yet behind it burns a small fire that never goes out. It flickers gently, protected from the wind, glowing softly behind the curtain of falling water. This flame is fueled by natural gas seeping from underground shale formations. The gas ignites and burns continuously, even as water flows around it. What makes this phenomenon unsettling is the contradiction. Fire and water are opposites. They cancel each other out. And yet here, they coexist in perfect balance. The flame doesn't roar. It doesn't spread. It simply exists, quietly defying expectations. It's a reminder that beneath the surface of the earth, forces are constantly at work, unseen and unpredictable. 9. Avenue of the Baobabs, Madagascar. Along a dusty road in Madagascar stands a line of towering baobab trees. Their trunks are enormous, thick enough to feel immovable. Their branches stretch upward like roots reaching into the sky. Some of these trees are believed to be over 1,000 years old. What makes this place feel unreal isn't just the size of the trees, it's their presence. They dominate the landscape completely, making everything else feel small and temporary. At sunset, the scene becomes surreal. The sky turns orange and purple. The baobabs become dark silhouettes, standing silently against the fading light. The view looks painted, staged, too perfect to be real. But these trees are alive. They've been standing here long before modern civilization existed. The Avenue of the Baobabs feels like a place where time itself slows down. 10. The Stone Spheres of Costa Rica. Deep within the jungles of Costa Rica lie hundreds of stone spheres, perfectly round, smooth, precise. Some weigh several tons. Others are smaller, but still heavy enough to require effort to move. What makes these spheres disturbing is their accuracy. They aren't roughly shaped. They aren't uneven. They are almost mathematically perfect. No one knows exactly why they were created, or how ancient cultures achieved such precision without modern tools. Many of the spheres were discovered buried, others arranged in patterns that suggest purpose. Standing near them raises uncomfortable questions. Nature rarely creates shapes this perfect on its own, and humans rarely achieve this level of symmetry without advanced technology. These spheres sit quietly in the jungle, offering no answers, only mystery. Looking at places like these, it becomes clear how little we truly understand our own planet. We rely on maps, satellite images, and scientific explanations to make sense of the world. But reality often refuses to fit neatly into those categories. Nature doesn't care about what looks believable. It doesn't care about expectations or logic. It simply follows its own rules. These places exist not to impress us, but to remind us that the world is far more complex, strange, and beautiful than we assume. If you enjoyed exploring these impossible realities, make sure to subscribe for more real-world mysteries. New videos every week. And remember, just because something looks fake doesn't mean it is. Stay curious.